Democrats left the negotiating table with no concessions on health care, something that could stick with voters long after the government reopens. Our Capitol Bureau Chief Alex Whitney is live at the Capitol for us now. And Alex, so will this shutdown vote hurt Democrats after that big election success?
Jennifer, a professor at the University of Illinois Springfield, tells me the potential is there. Voters showed last Tuesday healthcare is still a top priority. Democrats had promised to cut down on skyrocketing premiums, but they didn't do that. Now, if a promised vote on ACA tax credits doesn't happen in December, Democrats could be in trouble. The shutdown has ended with federal employees returning to work, Affordable Care Act tax credits still set to expire, and Democrats trying to explain to voters what exactly happened in Washington, D.C.
I think the crudest weapon in that arsenal is a government shutdown, because you're playing with other people's lives.
Democrats had billed the shutdown as a last chance to save thousands from the skyrocketing health care costs that some economists projected. But they ended their vote with no concessions on health care. University of Illinois Springfield professor Matthew Garris tells me it was a bitter pill for many Democrats to swallow, but they didn't come away from the shutdown totally empty-handed.
I think in a lot of ways the government shutdown was the Democrats using what little leverage they had to kind of stand up to the Trump administration in larger areas of policy and in the way that Trump has been using presidential power.
Garris believes the opposition to President Trump's administration has become a double-edged sword for Democrats. It helped propel them to wins in this month's elections. But he says Democrats will need to unify their messaging and their votes if they want that momentum to continue in 2026.
The Democratic Party internally has kind of been having this internal tension about whether they wanted to be a more moderate political party and kind of moderate on some of their positions to try and win over Republican and independent voters, or whether they wanted to be a more progressive or liberal party.
But much of that success now hinges on what Republicans do next. They promised Democrats a vote on extending ACA tax credits in December. If that doesn't happen, Garris says Democrats will have given up all of their leverage for nothing.
And I said, John, I'm sticking my neck out for this agreement. I want you to keep your word. And he said, I will. I'm going to hold him to it.
Midterms generally favor the party that is not in power, but recent polling shows that Democrats and Republicans are neck and neck. Reuters asked voters on Monday who they would vote for if the elections were held today. 40% said they'd vote for Democrats, 40% said they'd vote for Republicans, and 20% said they were undecided. Reporting here at the Capitol, Alex Whitney, WCIA 3, your local news leader.
All right, Alex, thank you so much.